It's showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
Good morning. I'm trying not to go with the Irish brogue.
The most reluctant good morning. You could just say hello.
Hello.
You could say, what is it? Greetings and salutations.
There you go. That should be my
many
new
ways to
morning
start.
greeting. Greetings and
Yes.
salutations.
What is a famous cinematic greeting? That's what you needed to come up with. Is what's a famous line or way of saying hello from a classic movie that you love?
Well,
And make
that's
that
a
your
good one.
greeting.
Greetings and salutations is a good one. I actually used that for quite a long time. I guess it could
Because
be
I know
one of
Nick
those.
was curious about the whole. Nick Langdon piped up on Discord trying to figure out what the Hondo thing was, and he did some deep research into it. It's a Spanish word for something, and Ben cleared that up. It's no, it's from History of Future Folk. So, see, I've got my movie tie-in tagline. You need to have yours. So,
In Spanish, I would think that it's a male Honda vehicle.
oh, still too early. Far too early.
No,
No, that's
never
true.
too early
Good
for
old
bad jokes.
dad jokes. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Right.
All right. News. We've got all kinds of movie news, right?
Yes. How's your morning
I've
been?
been up for 30 minutes, so it hasn't been a morning yet. So it's
Well, how's your movie week been?
well, let's see. We recorded Trailer Rewind, so we got that.
Okay.
So JJ and I talked about The Bachelors. So I think Pete is putting that one together for release soon, which was an unexpected surprise. It never got a theatrical release, which, given the cast, I was surprised. But JJ and I had some differing opinions on that one. So that was something I, watched last weekend, and now I've been hooked on TV. I got hooked into the Netflix series Russian Doll. That's just amazingly fun. So that's what's been eating up my time.
That's not the one that Martin Tilkvist suggested, but was it by the same person? Because you guys were having a little chat on the TV channel about that, right?
Yes. No, he had just finished Killing Eve, which is a BBC show, and so I told him that he needed to check this out.
Russian
next.
Doll out. Okay.
Russian Doll out.
I've heard of neither of those shows. That's how out of the loop I am with TV.
Russian Doll is sort of plays with that whole Groundhog Day premise of living a moment over and over again. But the show is created by, and I can remember all the names. There's three of them. It's Natasha Lyonne, who stars in it, Amy Poehler, and then a third that I can't remember off the top of my head, who directed the majority of the episodes. So you've got three women that basically created the show, wrote it. It's, I think, 8 or 9 half-hour episodes, and it's kind of dark. It's a darkly comic movie with, I'm only about halfway through, but I've been really, really enjoying it. But I mentioned it because it was one of these nice, just well-crafted from, each episode. They pack so much into half an hour. And so I mentioned it to Martin because he had just finished Killing Eve, which my wife and I had just binged maybe a month or so ago, which is another amazing series that is just, you look at it and say, I'm glad they didn't try to condense this into a movie, but they maintained that quality for a TV show. It's like little episodes that are like little mini movies. It's a really entertaining show about tracking down an assassin. So and that's the one that Sandra Oh
named Eve, I'm guessing.
No, the assassin is actually Villanelle, and she is tracking down Eve.
Villanelle.
Villanelle is her sort of code name. Eve is the agent that is sort of profiling and following her. So
Villanelle is straight out of the He-Man universe. Eve, what was her name? Evelyn was the He-Man villain's name, who worked with Skeletor. Evelyn. It's
because they want to make it clear to the kids that this person is bad. Yes.
Yeah, just what was her name now? I forgot.
Villanelle, which is actually, it's a form of poetry that, and I should know this, but I think a villanelle has specific format about the words at the end of the line, and it's those six. I think it's a 6-line stanza, and the 6 words that in those lines have to end each line, but in different orders as you work their way through. But I don't know. That's why the author picked it. It's based on a series of like short e-novels or e-books that were published online and became this thing. So, yeah. So
Interesting.
I've been in TV land. I'm still trying to find time to get caught up on my Oscars. I know JJ said he just saw The Favorite and loved it, so I've got to make time to get out and see that, or if it's available online now. Yeah,
We only have a few more weeks.
I know.
I have not gotten anywhere with my watching of the Oscar nominated films, so I'm behind there. But I did finish my Melissa McCarthy series. I was watching all of her films, and I opted to. I finished Life of the Party last night, which I was in tears. I was laughing so hard in a couple of the scenes. And then I decided not to rewatch The Happy Time Murders. So I'm like, I don't think I need to watch that one ever again. And so now I'm just down to her newest one.
Oh, wow.
Can You Ever Forgive Me? So I've, other than one mysterious indie that she did a little while back that is not available anywhere, I've now watched her whole filmography.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
quite an enjoyable time. But that gets me, I can check that off the list. And so now, maybe I'll start actually watching some of these Oscar films or my Robert Redford series, or too many.
I don't know. Or you could just, start on an Albert Finney series, because I'm just reminded of how many amazing films he has been in, and how many that I've seen, and so many that have always been on my list of, I've heard great things about that. Yes, I'll get around to seeing it someday, but it's never been a top priority of mine. But yeah, that's one where, growing up in the 80s and 90s, he was one of these guys that was just in a lot of things that I remember seeing around, but just wasn't, like The Dresser. That's one that, as a, 14-year-old in high school, that's not a movie I'm going to, see. But I remember hearing great things about it. And I say, now I'm like, I should maybe go back into sort of his deeper catalog there to see some of those films that I have just been missing out, because I think I remember seeing Miller's Crossing, then like, oh wow, this guy, he's got a presence in films, and then seeing him in like Aaron Brockovich, so many great roles from the late Albert Finney.
Yeah, Tom Jones, I saw when I was doing like my Best Picture winners back in college, and then. But I think that he's one of those actors that I didn't really pay much attention to. Like, he wasn't a guy that I would regularly seek out. But I obviously had seen him in films like Annie. That was probably the first film I watched him in. And then, I don't know where. I think probably in the late 90s, early 2000s with like Simpatico, Aaron Brockovich, Traffic, Big Fish.
Yeah.
That's probably where I started picking up. And then I went back and watched some things like Murder on the Orient Express recently, The Duelists, Wolfen, The Dresser, and so kind of picking up on some of those older films, Under the Volcano. Oh, and I had seen Miller's Crossing, of course. So it's, he's an actor that I just really enjoyed, and certainly was in some great films later in his career. I love that he got into doing like the animated stuff like Corpse Bride, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. He popped up in the Bourne films, Skyfall. He's a great actor, and has a very interesting like run of films, especially in the earlier ones. And I think there's a lot of earlier ones that I haven't seen that are probably worth checking out.
There we are. You got any Marvel news for us, Andy?
I was poking around for Marvel news, trying to find some interesting stuff, and I was really struggling for a while. I was like, well, Captain Marvel has a new poster, and it's a really boring, it's like the standard boring new poster. That was about it. But then I just found today that the new Captain Marvel website has been released, or has been unveiled by Marvel, and it's totally done. Like, obviously there really wasn't the web site design. When is it takes place in like 92 or something like that?
Somewhere, as I recall. Yeah.
The World Wide Web didn't there really wasn't a whole thing of it, but they certainly did a retro design, which is like, late 90s type of design,
really?
Which is really fun. So if you go to marvel.com/Captain Marvel, it's so fantastic because it's so bad looking, and it's great.
Intentionally,
yeah. Okay. They totally did an intentional bad, like old school website with rainbow letters and just like those big ugly buttons for like people's names and just the different things you can click on. Plus there's a little pop-up character that pops up around the edges periodically, and if you can catch her, it's a Kree, and you can blast her. It's just so random.
Well, I was thinking about this because people watch trailers, but you don't go to like movie websites anymore. I don't know that there's that often that, the studios are actually making an entire website for a film with, I remember used to go and you could get, still images or back maybe in the mid 90s, you could like download sound clips, things like that. There was all kinds of fun, like promo stuff on a website to sort of help you understand the world of the movie. And I think I mentioned on the film board for Glass, there was like Unbreakable had this really fun, website called Are You Unbreakable that, it helped build the world. Now with Captain Marvel, I don't know that you need to build the world for that. You've got the comics, but you don't, I don't know that for any of the best picture, I don't know that I've been to a movie's website in probably 3 or 4 years because they're not promoted or marketed, really out there, and I'm not aware that there's anything helpful, useful, or interesting that are in there. But this one sounds like I'm gonna have to check it out now for the little retro really fun. Okay,
it's very fun. The that's a good point. I feel like I only end up looking at movie websites when I hear that it's something clever that they're doing. Otherwise, I just never look at it. I'll watch the trailer, but that's it. So it's nice to see that they're playing around with it to give us something a little more interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, that's the Marvel news for now. Marvel.com/Captain Marvel.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh my goodness.
All right, so it
just loaded.
Isn't it great?
It is like, yes. Oh.
It's like the fantastic rainbow letters.
It is so much fun for anybody that remembers those early days and the big gray sign-in button at the bottom. Oh, God. A guest book.
With the awful, the text where it's like the big block of the black behind the letters.
Because you got to put text on an image. You've got to put the text box there, and the text box is not going to be transparent. And it's this nice little grainy, low-res photos, and yes, this is a joy.
This is total joy.
This is my afternoon now.
Even for people who aren't excited about the Marvel films, it's a website worth checking out just to enjoy what they've done here. It's pretty fun.
Okay,
so cool. Well, let's do trailers. I think. Who do you want to go first, or shall I?
Well, we don't have any A24. We don't have any Red Band. We both have the oddest trailer picks ever on this one because I couldn't find anything. And then you asked why I didn't do the teen thing. I didn't see any teen movies out there. I would have opted for something like that.
It's called, and now I have to find it because I was like, I should have written the name down. But by that point, I'd already forgotten what the name was. I'm going to tell you here. It's something with a star. Oh, the sun is a star too, or something like that. The sun is also a star. The sun is also a star.
Didn't see that trailer.
That's the teen.
Oh,
that's the teen trailer that's coming out in UK cinemas. It says.
Oh,
so
okay. No, because everything that I was barraged with when I'm looking for new trailers was the Child's Play remake, which I thought you would have gone for because of just, I don't know, horror and cheesy reboot. I don't know. But if you'd done that, we would have had 2 unnecessary reboots, because what I'm going with is a movie I didn't know existed, was in production, don't know that it needs to exist, but it's the third movie titled Shaft. And I thought, we're doing Shaft again with Samuel L. Jackson because he did it back in 2000 and something. So like
2000.
So 20 years ago, he was in a movie called Shaft. So it's time to do Shaft. And I thought, are they rebooting this thing? What are they trying to do with this? It's apparently a sequel, maybe.
It is. It's it's full on sequel.
So because he's Shaft, but this time it's his son, and it looks like it'll be fun. But I don't know that it's necessary. But it's lots of action. I mean, it looks like a movie from the late 90s, early 2000s of we've got a, detective character and there's something going on. He's got to bust into the crime world and we've got all kinds of fights. But this one has a 2019 spin on it, particularly a scene where he and his son are confronting a woman with a baseball bat and his son's like, you can't hit a woman. That's misogynistic. And he's like, no, I hit everybody. I don't discriminate.
Yeah, I'm not even the one who brought up that she's a woman.
Exactly. So it's going to be one of these movies that I think 5-6 years from now, people will look at this and say, oh, that's so 2019. It's going to be very much of its time. But, Samuel L. Jackson playing Shaft again, will probably be fun. Little Marvel connection. This one's directed by Tim Story, who did the Fantastic Four and the Fantastic Four Silver Surfer movies back in the day. So we have a little Marvel connection in this one. But I don't know that I'm going to rush out to the theater to see this when it comes out on June 14th. This might find its audience, or I don't know if it's going to be overwhelmed by a lot of other summer movies. But it looks, I remembered seeing the first Shaft back in 2000 or shortly thereafter when it was on video. Not one that was very memorable to me. But, I always enjoy Samuel Jackson, being a tough guy.
And of course, when you say the first Shaft, you mean...
Well, the first Samuel Jackson Shaft, right? Because we got Richard Roundtree in 1970 something. Yes.
71.
Yes.
Doing the original Shaft. This is like totally setting us up for a series.
I was just going to say that you need to do a whole Shaft series. Why not? Yes.
Because we've got Shaft, and then he had 2 sequels, Shaft's Big Score and Shaft in Africa. Plus, I think he had a TV show. And then we have the I quote reboot / sequel, because Samuel L. Jackson is playing the original Shaft's nephew,
right?
And now this story is about his son.
Yes,
I tell you, I don't remember the original Samuel L. Jackson film very well. I was a little surprised watching the trailer for this one because it looks like they're going like full on comedy route now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is totally not the blaxploitation, just cop film that we got in the 70s. And it was a very different time, very different types of films, but it was still kind of my recollection, a pretty straightforward crime film. And my recollection of The Shaft from 2000 is that it was more of the same, maybe a little less blaxploitation, but still the whole idea of just this kind of this black undercover detective who's taken down a crime boss.
Yes. Well,
and now we're going into full on comedy route. Yeah. So I was really surprised by the tone. I don't know. I scratched my head a little bit. But I do think it would make for an interesting series to look at these films and try to gauge what the temperature of society was at the time each came out and what they're trying to say with it.
Well, yeah, I think in 2000, John Singleton directed that one, so I think it is a more serious take on that. With this one, we've got Tim Story, who, although doing the Fantastic Four, he's known more for his comedies, working with Kevin Hart on a lot of things. If you remember back in 2004, Taxi with Jimmy Fallon and Queen Latifah. So, definitely lighter, that was still a sort of a crime movie, looking at some bank robberies, but definitely with a more comic approach to that. So I see why, given the subject matter, how do you present this seriously, or how do you just, take this genre and sort of step step apart from it a little bit and poke some holes and poke some fun at it, because I think you get into a lot of complex issues that are difficult to handle, and it would be a challenge. So it's easier to just, we're going to make fun in this film. So June 14th, Shaft.
I didn't realize. So the original Shaft is based on a book by Ernest Tidyman. I didn't realize that he wrote a good number of sequels to the book.
Oh,
There's
really?
Shaft. The second book is. I don't think that this could sell on shelves these days.
Oh, no.
I don't know. Shaft Among the Jews is the next book.
Oh, no.
Shaft's Big Score. Shaft Has a Ball. And then we have Shaft's Carnival of Killers. So those are the Shaft films. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, according to IMDb, he also did some work on the French Connection. So interesting.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And High Plains Drifter.
Yeah. Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's get out of
Shaft Among the Jews.
Let's get out of this uncomfortable space to, I don't know where you're taking us, but yes, go ahead and tell us about this thing you found.
We are, I had to do this trailer. I came really close to doing the Child's Play because it's horror. It would be a fun one to discuss. But Steve, we're doing the Rocky series right now. How could I not do this? That I want to say is an unofficial film inspired by Rocky. I don't even know what to say about it, but it's a Bollywood film called Rocky, directed by Adnan A. Shaikh, and it's, I don't know what to say about the trailer. It looks like a really odd story about a guy who it's a Bollywood-ish trailer. It starts off with a guy who's just ripped, who seems to be kind of going down the action movie route where this guy is ridiculously strong and he's taken down bad guys and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden he's falling in love. And we get this whole stretch of the film where it's just this love story and you're seeing kind of the Bollywood musical bits. And then I can't tell if she got killed or someone else got killed, and then it goes back into action mode. we get more of all the insane fighting and rippling muscles and all that craziness. It's a film that I find this on IMDb when I look on their site trying to find some of these kind of Bollywood types of films where you don't find them very well updated on IMDb yet. And I think it takes a little time to get that information out there. And I don't know, they just may not be updating it as much. Who knows? But anyway, there's not much information about this, and it is in I'm not sure specifically which of the languages from India they're speaking here, but I don't know. It weirdly looks very entertaining. Like I had a blast watching the trailer because it just was this crazy Bollywood type of world that I had a blast with. So Rocky, starring Sandeep Salve, Ashok Shinde, Kranti Redkar, and it comes out March 8th in I'm guessing in India. I don't think there's a U.S. release date yet.
I know that in Bollywood they will take movies and they will adapt them, and then there's like musical numbers added and dance sequences and all that, but that there's usually you can see the resemblance to some of the plot pieces. I don't know how this relates to Rocky at all because there's no boxing in this one, because I thought, oh, okay, he's just this tough guy, and then I figured, oh, we're going to get to the whole like boxing thing, but no, it's more about like a crime boss thing or something, which fine. And so they're using the name because the character's name is Rocky, so it may not have anything to do with the Sylvester Stallone Rocky franchise, but yeah, this just reminds me that you guys need to do like a Bollywood series, because
I totally want to.
It's an untapped, area in, what we look at. The Harkins Theater just up the road from me occasionally has like, Indian Film Fest type things going on. They'll have a couple of screens, and so I know there is a growing audience here in the States.
They've been doing that by me too.
Yeah, there's a growing audience for this here, and I think it would be really interesting to look at this as a really unique genre of film. And for some of these, with adding all the musical numbers, some of these have like really, really long run times. And you think, oh, this is like Rocky. You think, this is going to probably be like, between 90 minutes and 2 hours. And some of these movies end up like 2-3 hour long run times because of all of that. And it's an entirely different style of film unto itself. So, yeah.
Right.
And this isn't the first like Bollywood trailer you've mentioned. There've been a couple that you keep
the one where the guy became a fly.
Yes, exactly.
That trailer.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know that I'm gonna put this one on my must-see list, but it again is a nice reminder that there is a huge industry out there cranking out a lot of and the quality of this. Looks like the production and everything. I mean, we got explosions, we got fights, we've got big musical numbers. Yeah. Looks like a lot of fun.
It does. And to that end, if nothing else, it does really inspire me to kind of continue pushing for a Bollywood series, because I think it would be a lot of fun. And I don't even think you can just say Bollywood anymore. I think there's a Bollywood. I think there's a couple of different kind of places in India that are the centers for film, depending on which particular language they're speaking and stuff. But I'm too unfamiliar, so I have some learning to do. But definitely want to check this out. I will just point out the funniest shot for me in the whole trailer is right at the end when you just see him standing there. It's a real short shot. But he's just standing there and he spreads his arms out and his shirt just like rips off of his body on its own. Like he's just flexing so much. So speaking of Rocky, let's jump into our list.
This is for Rocky 3, right?
Rocky 3.
All right.
Yes.
Where we have wrestlers acting because of Hulk Hogan as Thunderlips in this one?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Yes. Oh.
Wrestlers in film.
Yes.
This was I was really surprised at how lengthy my list grew. Like it was crazy. Like I had forgotten about so many wrestlers in these films, and I've got a very extensive list.
So I was working on my list, and because we in this household are fans of the Netflix series Glow, my wife asked me, she's like, "Hey, what about any of those women wrestlers? Have any of them made that transition into the big screen?" And not as successfully. I think there are some that have, sort of languished in that sort of direct-to-video Sharknado type film zone, but there weren't a lot. So I ended up sticking with guys. But I was, again, surprised how there's this separate little weird industry of like the WWE working with like Hanna-Barbera or something, because there's these weird crossover things with like Flintstones and wrestlers, but and Scooby-Doo and wrestlers, and I don't understand it at all. But as I was looking through, I was like, oh well, this wrestler, what movie has he been in? And I see like these Scooby-Doo and like, what? Who watches this? I don't know who the audience is or how they come across these movies.
Are these recent ones, or like back in our day when we were kids?
Like,
because I totally remember those episodes when I was a kid.
Well, I remember, we had the Harlem Globetrotters, and with
Harlem Globetrotters, Addams Family.
Yes.
But I vaguely remember. I think I remember some wrestlers, but I can't be sure.
But no, these are recent things. So if you look at John Cena, he was in let's see, what was that one called? It's something, I think that's one of the ones with the Flintstones or something like that. I
didn't even know the Flintstones was still being made.
Yes, so it's the Flintstones and WWE Stone Age SmackDown from 2015, and featuring John Cena as John Cena Stone and Vince McMahon as Vince McMagma. Yes. Apparently there's a Jetsons and WWE Robo WrestleMania from 2017. And so these aren't like little episodes. These are like hour long. So it's not quite a whole movie. It sort of fits in that weird space in between. There's several Scooby-Doo ones. Yes.
It was like when we were kids and they would do like the Yogi Bear's Wacky World of Sports, or Yogi Olympics, or whatever it was called. And it was just kind of like a special where they integrated lots of different characters, although this seems more specifically focused to wrestling.
And I'm assuming these are like direct-to-video things, because I don't know where else you would catch these things unless it's on like Cartoon Network or something. But yeah, so there's still, Flintstones. I was surprised. Scooby-Doo, I was not as surprised, because I know like Scooby-Doo as a character is like one of the most recognizable characters globally across, he's just a thing that you go anywhere, people know Scooby-Doo. So I guess the, wrestling, may have that same global notoriety. So it was an unexpected discovery as I was trying to track down wrestlers in films.
I think that's hilarious.
Yes. Okay, so I approached this from sort of the tone that was set with Rocky III, which is Hulk Hogan as a wrestler and when he first appears in film. So sort of because there are several wrestlers, one very well-known one, who have made just separate careers as actors now. I'm sort of looking at that. I would sort of approach it as the crossover point of somebody that is known as a wrestler at that time, appearing in a film and acting, not as a wrestling character. Because there sometimes they'll, with Hulk Hogan, yes, he was sort of as appearing as a wrestler. I looked at it from, when is this wrestler sort of, getting into their acting chops there and like trying to take on a role that is not the wrestler role. So that's sort of the focus I put on my list. Okay.
So, do you want to kick us off then?
Sure. And I'm wondering how many steals there might be, because my list isn't that long, because I'm curious where you went. So I'm going to start with, for me, I guess after Rocky, the next wrestler sort of chronologically that I came across, and I remember this of like, I know that guy. Oh my gosh, he's hilarious. In The Princess Bride, Andre the Giant.
There's the first steal.
See, I got to take that one first, and I can use the excuse of sort of working chronologically on this one to get that one out of the way. But yeah, I don't know that he did much acting after that. But again, the wrestler sort of playing the muscle in a movie, and Andre the Giant with so many just great quotable classic lines.
And he was back when I was watching wrestling. He was big, his whole relationship with Hulk Hogan, and then all of a sudden, like they were on the same side, and then all of a sudden he switched sides, and it was this big drama, and I was totally into all that. I was so into it was such nonsense, but man, did I love it. Yeah, good old Andre the Giant. He was. That's a good one. It's one of my probably top 10 favorites. It's one that I just absolutely love. So,
and my favorite Andre the Giant sort of, and I believe it's true. I don't know that it's this weird apocryphal urban legend thing, but apparently when he was a young boy, the playwright Samuel Beckett, who wrote like Waiting for Godot and all kinds of weird, sort of experimental stuff, would drive Andre the Giant to school. Because I don't know if they were like neighbors or something like that, but yes, I'm just trying to think of these two people in a car together. You've got literary, legend Samuel Beckett and young, soon-to-be wrestling star Andre the Giant, and the conversations that might happen in that drive to school. I would love to know what those were.
That's hilarious. Very interesting. Well, since you took that one, right, which I was saving for my number one, but I'm going to start with this one regardless. This is, I figured I probably would end up with The Rock on my list somewhere, because Dwayne Johnson has done a vast body of work since he really kind of kicked into films with I think it was the first sequel to The Mummy Returns, where he popped up as the Scorpion King. And that kind of began his his cinematic explorations, and obviously he's done quite well, and I just absolutely think he's just a joy to watch. But the first film that he did that really kind of, I guess you could say it was the first thing that he did where he was saying, I'm going to act more. I'm going to step away from wrestling and do more of this acting, was a really fun action film that Peter Berg directed in 2003 called The Rundown.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
It was so much fun. It's just like he's kind of this bounty hunter who's hired by a guy to collect his son from Brazil, and he has to go get him, but it just turns into all this craziness. He's in it. We've got Sean William Scott in it as the kid he has to go collect. Christopher Walken is in it. Rosario Dawson, Ewan Bremner. Man, I just had so much fun. The thing that sold me on him in this film, like right out of the gate, he walks into this bar because he has to get this bounty, which is a couple like big football players. And he looks at both of them, and like these statistics go through his head.
Yes.
Of I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like the chances of hurting them or something like that. And he has to really figure out how to do it because he really likes these guys and doesn't want to ruin their careers. So he has to like figure out how to take them down without like injuring them so they can't play. I don't know. It was so much fun. That's my first choice, The Rundown.
See, I had The Rock, but I did not have The Rundown. But that's one of those, I remember seeing it and having a really good time with it. And I haven't seen it in probably over 10 years. It'd be nice
I need to rewatch
that one because I do remember a movie that just knew how to have fun with itself. And that cast. And of course, cast Christopher Walken as the bad guy and just let him just do his thing. let him off the rails and let him go. Just so crazy. Yes.
It bombed. I don't know if bombed is the right word, but it didn't make its money back at the box office, and it got huge like positive praise and everything, but for whatever reason, it just didn't find its audience, and so Peter Berg wanted to do a sequel, and the people involved did, but never. I don't know. Maybe now that The Rock is big and famous, it'll take off again, but it's worth checking out. The Rundown.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep proceeding chronologically here, and I'm going to ask Andy, are you all out of bubble gum?
You know what? I mean, great. At least it's out there. But of course you're going to steal that one.
Of course I'm going to steal that. Come on, I'm going from like 1987 to 1988, and Roddy Piper and John Carpenter's They Live, which is just, I don't know what it was about seeing it at that point. I don't know, just that age, and there's so many things that just resonate. It's just iconic moments, and I don't know, John Carpenter is able to do this, just have these great moments in films that when you look at them as a whole, there's some flaws, and it maybe doesn't execute everything, perfectly, but there are so many great moments in this one. There's the brutal alley fight as well, and again, for me, this is about a wrestler, acting as a character and leveraging his, physical abilities in a 6-minute, alley brawl, that is just amazing. But yeah, here he is, trying to carry a movie about, aliens that have taken over the earth, and you can only see them with the special sunglasses. But yeah, that's my second pick.
That's that movie is so much fun, and it's funny because that's not one I saw. I did see it on video. A friend rented it, and I didn't like it that much when I was a kid for some reason, and it wasn't until more recently when I was doing my John Carpenter chronological watch of his filmography that I rewatched, and I was like, why did I not love this movie when I was a kid? Because it's so great. I just totally love the movie. For my next choice, I'm jumping back in my list in the hopes that I'm going to steal one from you now.
Okay.
We'll see. I'm like, what is he going to steal next? I am jumping to John McTiernan's 1987 Predator. which is an action masterpiece. I think it's so much fun. It's so thrilling. This is one I watched many times when I was a kid. I was just obsessed with this alien creature and the effects, which looked so cool. Everything about it was just such a neat experience. I had a blast watching it. And of course, we have Jesse the Body Ventura, who pops up in there. Was another one who I watched a lot when I was a kid. So it was great seeing him pop up here. And boy, has he had a wild and varying career. He did do this, and then he did The Running Man the same year. And then he became governor of Minnesota. So, yeah, who knows? It's so strange the way that people's lives take turns like that. But Predator is a classic, and that's my second choice.
Almost a steal. I had that as a backup because I thought Andy's like, which one is Andy going to get to first? So I have some backups, but that was definitely one. I mean, yes, that was at that point, the late 80s, because wrestling was such a huge thing. You had WrestleMania going on. You had so much stuff. These people were so much in the public eye that, yes, you've got to take that opportunity, of, can I launch a film career? Or am I just going to be spending my time here in the wrestling ring on TV? Or can I leverage this popularity and draw people to a film? And yes, clearly here's someone that not only, is able to make a couple movies out of it, but, launch a political career. So yes, that was classic. So I'm jumping ahead a little bit. And this one, for these other picks I'd had, it was really their first, role. And I scrolled through IMDb, and like there may be other TV things, or it was like a bit part in a TV as like a security guard or something like that. But I was looking for what is like the big movie step, and for most of them it was a big significant movie for this. For my next wrestler, it has been a long journey to get to, I think, the popularity that he now has, and came across some just unusual movies I'd never even heard of. So I'm going to talk about Dave Bautista, and of course known as, Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy, is I think when he really became, that transition from wrestler to a popular movie actor. But along the way, I saw he had a bit part in this odd movie, and I'm this is not my list. I'm going with, Guardians of the Galaxy, but I do want to mention this because it is the most unusual movie I'd never heard of. Just listen to this cast and ask yourself, why have you not heard of this movie? Michael Shannon, Willem Dafoe, Chloe Sevigny, Michael Pena, Grace Zabriskie, Brad Dourif, and then way down on the list we've got Dave Bautista as like a SWAT team member. In 2009's My Son, What Have Ye Done?, directed by Werner Herzog, produced by David Lynch. It is inspired by a true crime. A man begins to experience mystifying events that lead him to slay his mother with a sword. I don't know.
Whoa.
With this cast, I thought, wow, why is this not on my radar? What is going on? The trailer makes this movie look... I would not be, if I had seen this trailer in 2009, I would not have probably wanted to see this movie. It just does not look like it is going to work well. It's got a 6.3 on the IMDb star rating based on 8,700 reviews. I don't know, but yes, this was one of those early Dave Bautista roles, as he's like a hitman or a bodyguard or something like that. But for us, I think everybody became aware of him as Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's continued to then, expand and branch out into a lot of other roles. And he was in one of the Bond films as well. So I think so he's starting to, I think, possibly leverage his career to sort of ride that path that Dwayne Johnson has as The Rock and move on to a well-rounded career. So that's my third pick.
Nice. Well, for my final one, I am going for a film that is a story of an aging wrestler who wasn't a wrestler, the actor playing him, but it features a lot of wrestlers, real professional wrestlers in the film. I am, of course, talking about Darren Aronofsky's 2008 film, The Wrestler, with Mickey Rourke as Randy the Ram Robinson, who it was kind of a rebirth of his career, I guess you could say. Although, Sin City, I guess. But, right in this era is when Mickey Rourke's popularity really started growing again. He started popping up in a lot of stuff. I love this film. It was an amazingly strong piece that Aronofsky did. Just the characters, just everything about it just was spot on perfect. And Mickey Rourke, I think, likely deserved the Best Actor award for this over, I believe it was Sean Penn for Milk, although it's a pretty tough call, but still, I think Mickey Rourke really delivered here. He was so good. But he's not a professional wrestler,
No.
but we do have in the film a huge list of professional wrestlers who did appear. Andrew Anderson, Robbie E., Necro Butcher, Nick Burke, The Blue Meanie, Sabian, Nate Hatred, Ron Killings, L.A. Smooth, Jay Lethal, Jim Powers, Claudio Castagnoli, Larry Sweeney, Romeo Roselli, John Zandig, Chuck Taylor, Nigel McGuinness, DJ Hyde, Kit Cope, Papadon, and Jay Santana.
That's quite a list.
Go.
Yes.
Quite a list of professional wrestlers popping up in a story that was kind of about aging in a field like this where you're very physical. And I think the scene that really stood out for me, and I can't remember which of the wrestlers he's sitting with, but they're kind of like sitting in a place like signing autographs and stuff. And it just I don't know, it just seemed really sad seeing these kind of older wrestlers just sitting there doing this. And but it speaks to kind of the nature of things. And that's kind of one of the ways that you continue to survive is you're just, making money where you can, and signing autographs is one of them. So,
all right,
yeah, pretty interesting.
One I haven't seen because I'm really mixed about Aronofsky, and every time I watch one, I'm like, it falls short in some way, and I get frustrated by there seems like such great potential, but it's falling short of what I'm hoping for. So which is funny because you are in the I love the fountain camp, right? Yes, I do. I mean, yeah, yes. which I agree with your previous statement. That one really fell short for me. It's funny. I will admit this is. I will say I have quibbles with it, but I still enjoy it despite those. Because yes, I agree. It does not live up to the potential that it could have, and I, for whatever reason, give it some grace and allow it that. But that's like one of the few, and so that's why I've just there are so many films of his that I need to see. I just have to, sort of be in the right frame of mind to say, okay, be ready to be disappointed. Let's not set our expectations too high, and let's do this. And you should check that out right after you watch In the Name of the Father. Okay, all right. Do you have any other ones on your list you want to give call outs to? No, you mentioned The Mummy Returns. That was the first time, Dwayne Johnson really, made that transition. He'd been in a couple TV shows. He was actually played a wrestler called Rocky on that 70s show. He actually also showed up in an episode of Star Trek Voyager playing the champion, and there was some type of arena battle. So it was interesting to see his little bit parts as he transitioned into The Mummy Returns. And what I did see is, his role as the Scorpion King, they then spun that off to its own franchise. And as I was doing my research, I see that franchise is still going. I think they're on the Scorpion King 4. And there seems to be a history or trend of this is a good place for wrestlers to try out their acting. Because if you look at some of the Scorpion King movies, you'd be like, oh, there's an actor, there's a wrestler that's in there. And again, I haven't seen any of these Scorpion King movies. That's why they're not on my list. But apparently that's a good place. Hey, it worked for The Rock. I'm going to do a Scorpion King movie. Maybe that will get me started. So, interesting. It's very funny. You never know. No. Well, for me, I had Man on the Moon was on my list. He's got the that feud that he has with Jerry the King Lawler. Yep. Okay. I had Magic Mike on my list because Kevin Nash was a wrestler that they had cast for one of the dancers. Oh, okay. And Ed Wood because they had George the Animal Steele. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was a wrestler who was cast to play Tor Johnson, who was a Swedish wrestler. That's right. That Ed Wood had cast. So those were my backups. All right. Yeah. So well done. All right. Well, we are going to be talking about Rocky IV, and I feel pretty confident that we had saved training montages for this one. Okay. Because let's face it, this movie is a training montage. Yes. Yes, it is. All kinds of great training montage. What else, though? We've got Russia. We've got, hanging out in Russia. Hanging out in Russia, yeah.
Yeah. So certainly Cold War.
Oh, okay.
That should be a thing, is Cold War films.
I think Cold War, that definitely fits in there.
So what would our final pick be? We've got Cold War, training montages, and films about, gosh, it's going to be a really narrow list, but we could do films about juicing up. You got the little injections that he's playing Drago taking.
I don't know. Do we bring back the because we do have a death of a character in a sequel, franchise sequel, death of a beloved character.
I think we should just put that one back on.
I think we put that back.
I know
we
had it. We had it last week.
Yeah.
But let's just do it again this week.
You never know. People are going to go for the montage, fine, but we're giving them choices.
We are giving them choices, absolutely.
Okay,
so we'll put that up and see what people pick.
And that was our second most voted category, wasn't it? The death of the.
It was. In fact, it was a tie for a while between that and wrestlers and films.
So for everyone that voted for that was disappointed, this is your chance. Rally the fans to vote for that category so that we can do that one. See if you can take out the training montage votes.
All right, man. Well, until next week, we'll chat more then.
Yes.
But got any movie plans for the for this next week?
As always, trying to catch up on catching up on my Oscar picks. That's my forever until February 24th. That's sort of my list, and we'll see what happens if how many I can knock out this weekend.
Yeah, I've got family coming into town this weekend, so I have a feeling I will be catching nothing this weekend. Although I did take the kids to the Lego Movie 2, the second part last night. I
saw your review and your 3-star review.
I was disappointed.
Yeah.
I was disappointed. It was not as magical as the first one, but it was. I think it was going to be a hard one to kind of hit that place.
Yeah,
it still is fun. The kids had a good time, and it still had some good laughs, but a lot more forgettable for me. So I guess that's my movie for now. I don't know what I'll end up having time to catch before next week. So I guess we'll have to wait until next week to find out.
We will.
All right, everybody. Well, Patreon supporters, thank you so much for supporting us. We couldn't be here without you. And thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Hondo.